Welcome to the hands-on section for sequential file input. And in this section, I'm going to show you the program that we already saw in the slides. And I'm going to show you two variations of this. This is the variation you saw in the slides. Only difference is I'm calling my file, it's called clients.txt, clients.text file instead of clients.dat. Can really, like I said before, you can call it anything you want. Dat is usually the extension we use for data files. TXT is typically used for files that are text files, like the files that we have been using so far. And usually if you give it a .txt extension, you can just double click on that file in your Windows Explorer, and the TXT extension is associated by default with simple text editing programs like Notepad, WordPad, even Word. And so it just makes it quicker, faster to just open up and see what's inside the text file. So that's why I gave it a .txt extension instead. So this is the exact same code we already just discussed. So we have the fopen function over here. If it doesn't succeed, we print out a message. Otherwise, we define unsigned integer account, character array name, and double precision floating point variable balance. We print out this header, printing account, name, and balance, these three strings at the top. We read from this file that we opened using fopen. We read in from the first line account, name, and balance, and go into a while loop, which will continue running for as long as we don't get to the end of file in this file pointed at by CF pointer. And we simply print out the values of count, name, and balance that we just read, nicely formatted, right aligned. Actually, I should make that 7.2. That makes it nicer looking. And when I'm done with that, I read in the next line using fscanf again, go up to the while loop again, check that I haven't reached the end of file, and if not, I just print out the next line using the printf statement again until I reach the end of file, and that takes me out of the while loop to fclose, and I close the file. Okay, so what I've already done is I've put the clients.txt file, I've put that right here in the repository, in the folder for this particular project that I'm running. So it's the same file I created with the sequential file output program. So let me just run this code right now. And remember, this program will read the contents of that file and print them out to screen. And there you go. So we have account number 10, 20, 35, 1000, 2000, 2200, 5, 1, 5, and 35. And we have all of these people's names who these accounts belong to and their balances. So let me just show you very quickly how to convert this into a secure version, that is safer to run. So I'm going to comment out the compiler directive that suppresses compiler warnings, the one that lets me use the simple fopen function and the simple fscanf function. So it's basically these two functions that are now non-secure. If I run this again, I get a problem. So already typed these. I'm going to comment out the line with the if statement and use this fopen_s function instead. Remember, this had a slightly different argument list. It doesn't return the file pointer. File pointer instead becomes the first argument, followed by the file name and file opening mode, which is R for read. And in the if condition, I check if the file pointer that it has fopen assigned a value to, I just check, make sure if it's not equal to null. So that's how I fix the, this is how I replace fopen with fopens, just like in the previous program for file output. Then I have to do something about fscanf. And instead of commenting this out, and instead of editing this, I'm going to comment this out. And I'm going to replace this with fscanf_s. And another thing I have to do over here, I have to provide, I'm reading in a string name, I have to provide a length for that. I'm going to make that 29 characters, and can use the exact same line of code, comment out the second use of fscanf and replace it with fscanf_s. And that's all. That's all I had to do. I had to fix the use, I had to replace the use of fopen with fopen_s and fscanf with fscanf_s in 2 places. So let me run this, and there you see the output looks exactly the same. Only difference, it's a little harder to mess with this program. Okay, now let's go to the second program that we had in this section. That is the credit inquiry program. Okay, slightly longer, I know. I leave it up to you to convert this to a secure version. So this is the exact same version you had in the slides. You can see I'm suppressing compiler warnings and errors because for using unsecure versions of fopen and fscanf and scanf. So by now you should be able to convert. You should do that as an exercise after running this code yourself. Okay, so let me run you through this very quickly. And I made some modifications to the clients.txt file I'm going to use over here. So this is the clients.txt file I'm going to use. I added some more negative values into this file. I added some more entries of people that had a balance of 0 in their account, just to make the output a little more interesting. Okay, so the open start is the same. We declare a file pointer, have an if condition, try to open the clients.txt file in read mode. If that works, if that doesn't work, we go into the if block and print out this message, and that's the end of the program. That takes us out here, and that's it. If not, then CF pointer now has a valid, is pointing to a valid file, and that takes us into the else block. And then we print out the request options 1, 2, 3, or 4, list accounts with balance, with 0 balances, credit balances, or debit balances, 0, negative, or positive balances, or exit the program by entering 4. Define request, an unsigned integer, read that in using scanf from the keyboard. And then we get into the while loop. That is kind of the heart of this program. We check if request is not equal to 4. If it's not equal to 4, we read from the file, one record from the file, and based on whether the value of request is 1, 2, or 3, we then print out a header, go into the while loop, check if we have reached the end of file. If we haven't, check if the balance that we just read in, if that is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, print out the entire record. If not, don't do anything and read the next record in the file. For case 2, the case 2 is where for if you want to see accounts with negative balances, credit balances. So the only thing that changes over here is the if condition. We check if the balance is a negative value. If it is, record is printed out, next record is read in, and we go back up into this while loop and just make sure we haven't reached the end of file. If we haven't, keep repeating the same thing. So basically, some records are printed out, some aren't. And the same thing happens for case 3 for accounts that have debit balances, meaning balances that are positive. And you can see that here in the if condition. Only records that have a balance greater than 0 are printed out with this printf statement. When you get to the end of the program, you move the file position pointer back to the beginning of the file using the rewind function that we talked about. Print out on a new line a question mark followed by a space, and that kind of serves as a prompt, and that's where the user has to enter the new request for what to do next, what types of accounts to display next, or exit the program. If the request happens to be 0, that takes us out of this while loop. Down here we print out end of run and close the file, and that's the end. So we already have a clients.txt file in the folder for this program, the file that whose contents I just showed you. Let me run this program. And here you go. We have a menu over here. This is a menu-driven program, kind of just like sitting at your ATM. You had a question, some people got a question like this in their midterm exam. So, okay, so list accounts with what types of balances? Let's say want to start with 0 accounts that have no 0 balance. I enter a 1, hit enter, and there you go. There are 2 accounts like that. One belonging to Ali, one belonging to Muhammad, and you can see that the balances are both 0. Next, let's take a look at balances, at accounts with debit balances. That's a 3. And there you go. These are all accounts that have positive balances. Next, let's try 2. And these are 2 accounts that have negative balances. And if I want, I can go try 1 again, or 3 again, or 2 again, or 1 again, or 2 again, or 3 again. So this will keep working until I enter a 4 and hit enter. And then I get the message end of run, and that's the end of the program.